Now, there are very few cars that can say American muscle car and super exotic in the same sentence. The new ZR1, this beautiful Chevrolet product, is one car that I think can. I'm standing here with the exterior design manager, Kirk Bennion. And Kurt, everything that you've done with this car to change it from a Z06 or a standard Corvette is done with some purpose in mind. Tell me about the DNA that goes into the ZR1.
Well, obviously, you know, it is another level above the Z06. So within keeping what we did with the Z06 with air management, lift, balance, and that because this car is a plus 200 mile an hour car, it was very important that one, we focus on taking lift out of the car, keeping it stable at those speeds. And that now the other tact was taking weight out of the car, because obviously we want to improve the power to weight as much as possible and then lower the center of gravity.
Well, as we take a look up at the front, at the nose of the car, there's a number of things that stand out right away. First of all, there's a lot of carbon that is exposed and visible and not covered over by paint. The splitter is quite prominent. Much in the style of Ferrari and other exotics, we actually can see the valve cover, and it's all very beautiful, but there's a purpose. Tell us a little bit about why a carbon splitter is important in this car.
Well, this splitter, first of all, to really set up a car for lift improvement, the splitter is the first place you start. This is where you try to get as much out of the front of the car. It's easy to balance it in the back of the car, but we spent a lot of time developing what you see as the plan view. If you notice, this plan view is a lot squarer than the Z06. This corner has been pulled out, and I would tell you the corner has actually been developed to its most optimal position in that. We looked at the splitter further forward and you think, well, that'd even give you even more downforce, and it really didn't. And this was, like I said, this is where we got the most downforce. And then obviously having the exposed carbon fiber has been around a while, but it is a premium material. And the fact that we can now do it as an exposed premium material, and we believe we're the first OEM to do this on a show surface. And I'm sure you've heard about the special additive we put in the clear coat. You know, the price is $60,000 per gallon of this additive. And obviously, we don't put gallons of this on the car or whatever. But anyways, that was very important. So we always start with the front, and then obviously the hood. The hood is a dual carbon fiber, both outer and inner. And the inner is fully exposed carbon fiber. There is no hood blanket or anything like that. The beauty of it, if you want to see the abs of the car, and that it has structural design surfaces underneath. And then of course, the exposure, that's actually our intercooler. That's a water-to-air intercooler. The supercharger sits in the V of the engine, and then the water-to-air cooler is on top. And the reason it's flat and it's up against the hood is a combination of developing both that intercooler and the hood surface to a compromised hood sight line. This hood is about 35 mils higher than a stock hood. Now, there's a point where, you know, some of that's good, but when you're in the driver's seat and you're looking across the right of the car and you're going into a right-hander, you really don't want that hood up too much higher than your fender there. You want to be able to see that apex, to see that turn-in point. So we were always working hand in hand with the powertrain group of optimizing the intercooler size, but also getting what we felt was an optimal hood height surface. Now, the window, which is probably the most provocative element and the most unique to this car.
It is very provocative.
Was developed because, you know, within that intercooler, now as you can imagine with any engine, startup, high rev, there is engine movement there. And what we've done with the window is it's kind of pillowed a little bit, it's bubbled a little bit, so it's a little higher than the hood surrounding surface. It gives us a little added clearance that we didn't have with the hood without raising the hood another iteration. So here again for us, it was a functional element of being able to deal with the height management, but it also was a neat way of showing the first ever supercharged factory Corvette.
And the LS9 is actually not a much bigger motor, it's actually dimensionally very compact motor.
Right.
Now the next thing you'd want to do with a car like this is lower its center of gravity. So we've got carbon up above to help do that, is that correct?
Yeah, and just to reiterate, before you get to the roof, the front fender is carbon as well. The whole front clip, except for the front fascia, is carbon fiber. Now the fender is a unique signature dual cove design, which is kind of, when we talked about DNA earlier, that you could say was influenced by a 63, 64 Corvette. That's one thing Corvette has, is it's got a wonderful heritage, thoroughbred like lineage, and at times we like to pull on that. We like to make sure that this car looks like it was born out of those earlier cars. So that element was important because that helps make the body side look different. People have asked us, is that a different door? And it's like, no, it's the same door. We just changed the fender. Now getting back to your comment on the roof panel, here again, yep, that was our opportunity, lowering the center of gravity and then showing off a premium material. And all the ZR1s will have this.
Gorgeous. I mean,
Thank you.
It really sets the car apart. And so that leads us, you know, from a style perspective, you know, the Z06 was always thought of as the best car you could get for the money. Now we're just talking about throwing out the for the money part because there's no compromise. I look inside the car and I see leather. I see that it has the elegance that some people were looking for. I just read something a few weeks ago. Jay Leno was talking about the Z06 and how people said, why is the interior plastic for that amount of money? And he said, well, you should shut up.
Yeah.
It's a fast car and that's what you're buying it for. Well, here
you've got your 4LT interior. You know, you could either get the brick or the linen accent. There will be a couple of new colors that are coming, but to your point, you'll be able to get a full leather interior. The other differences are you do have ZR1 in the cluster, you do have your boost gauge, and of course we have ZR1 embroidered on the seats.
And you still have a heads-up display.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So all the things that you would have in a standard Corvette or Z06, none of them are thrown out in the parts bin.
No,
They're all, this has all the same kind of DNA. Now at the rear of the car, I see this is actually a very subtle spoiler, but it's actually, I'm sure, quite effective, particularly when you're over 150.
Oh yes. Now, just to kind of, you know, the whole downforce package is developed as a system. Just to go, you know, the front splitter is actually 24% better than the front splitter on the Z06. We do have a rocker splitter, and this helps for drag and lift as well. That tends to be more effective in a yaw moment, you know, as you're going through corners, the car is pitched. You're seldom in a straight line, you know, except if you're on a big track like VIR or something like that. But because we pulled out the front corners on the front splitter, we raised the rear corners on the rear spoiler. This rear spoiler, as modest as it is, to your point, is actually 43% more effective in lift reduction than the standard Z06 spoiler.
That's quite substantial. And does that translate down below to a diffuser and to exit for under? We did look the chassis.
We did look at diffuser work early on, and you know, it's about when you get into downforce or developing lift reduction in a car, it's really about being optimal. And when I say that, the whole package you see here improves lift reduction by 29% over the Z06, but it's only a 6% penalty drag, which is very good, because typically when you look at canards and big wings, they're usually a 1-to-1. If you get one count of lift reduction, you get 1 count of drag increase. So the fact that we were able to keep the drag increase only 6% was a real win for the car.
Do you have a particularly favorite view to look at this thing? When you come and you stand, here's my ZR1 that I designed. Is it the rear quarter? Is it the nose? Is it sitting in? What is about the car that makes you happiest?
I would tell you, obviously, the rear 3/4, just because of the rear wheels, they're 20 by 12s. It's a unique design for Corvette. It's a multi-spoke. It's probably the most spokes we've seen on a Corvette in a long time, and it's meant to be race inspired. You know, I use the term full radial support. When you look at cars that are running in the ALMS, particularly our C6R, they require this full support in all that car is doing at high speed and G loads and things like that. But I would tell you the rear 3/4 is great. The front 3/4 I love because you see the raised hood, you see the presence. So both views for me are very exceptional.
What's the next thing that happens now? When is it available?
August, September time frame is when we expect the dealers to start receiving cars.
So it's almost ready to be born.
I think so.